Welcome to Hungry News. I'll be quick. I wrote to myself that it seems to me that I have a bunch of subscribers and friends and stuff, a lot of people who write to me occasionally, and I forgot what I wanted to tell you. That mainly because I wanted to thank you, but that's supposed to be something else, but I can't remember. So making notes and doing the show, it's supposed to be one thing. Anyway, so I wanted to talk about the average Hungarian day, the life of the average middle class Hungarian person, because that was a request and I like doing requests. It's so easy because I don't have to think about stuff, I just tell you stuff. So basically, here is the list of what an average person does in Hungary. So they usually get up in the morning because it's nice. Nowadays they're getting up in the dark, and obviously they arrive back home late. Well, it's also dark, so but let's not get ahead of ourselves. Okay, so they go to work. Now that's usually 8 hours a day or more, because even though you are supposed to work for 8 hours, a lot of companies cannot afford that you work there only 8 hours. So if you work for a little company, you have a lot of extra work to do, because even though your salary is not that big, an average of 100,000, which is about £400, five or $600 a month. I should have done the math, but anyway, we're not talking about salaries. So, so you usually work very hard because you don't earn much, but you have to keep your job, actually, because otherwise you can't afford your credit, you can't afford your house, etc. Since we don't live on a tropical island, heat is a very big problem in Hungary. Usually gas comes from for cooking and for heating, the heater stuff. Usually it comes from Russia through Ukraine. We have a little 6 little tanks, in order to have some kind of fail-safe system. It's not that big. I think it works for 6 days or so, something like that. I don't know where they are, but we are supposed to have. So if the government didn't sell it, then we have this kind of stuff. Anyway, so you have to work 10-12 hours sometimes, because you want to keep your job, and that is very essential. So gas prices are very high, fuel prices are very high. So I know in America they complain about high fuel prices, but that's nothing compared to this. Imagine that you earn $500 a month, and then we can talk about gas prices, which is as high as yours in America or in the EU. So basically the EU has a kind of a standard pricing. It's not by the law, it's just, we try to adopt, maybe. Anyway, so you work hard, then you go home, and if you're lucky, you don't work on the weekends. If you work for a multinational corporation such as Tesco or Auchan or something like that, then we don't have Walmart or Asda here, so that's only for the Western world. And we have our own store chain. It's called CBA. It's the reverse ABC, because we used to, when in the socialist era, when we had shops, we called them ABCs, in Hungarian ABC, because well, they are quite they sold quite a lot of not just food but a lot of other products. So that's for the ABC, because well, we didn't call them A to Z because that would be stupid. So so if you work for a corporation like that, then you work on weekends, but you usually have a day off. Normally you have 20 vacation days, but more on that later. Watch TV. Yeah, no. They come home, or they go home, because they don't come all here. That would be insane. We're feeding 3 million workers. That would be physically impossible for me, so that's not gonna happen. So they watch TV, because we have many channels, usually on cable. Not 500 or so, but the usual one is 170. We have 70, 72 or 68. I don't know. Or you can browse the web, because you browse the web. I don't have to talk about that to you, especially for you. And then sleep. Sleeping is very essential for survival. So these are the things that most Hungarians do. Now, it may seem to you that I was telling you the usual stuff, what you do. What makes it interesting is that we don't do anything else. I mean, rarely a Hungarian can afford a vacation. As I mentioned, we have 20 days paid. Usually the companies can give them to the workers. Rarely it happens that you have to go in, because otherwise the company would cease to exist. Now you have a choice. You can keep your job if you work there all the time, or you can lose the job, or if the company is really, really nice, which is not the case in most of the companies in Hungary, but if it's really nice, then you can get your 20 days, but the company goes bankrupt. Not because of you, but for example, if 20 people work for a company, then 2 or 3 or 5 goes away, then well, it's going bankrupt, because normally the thing is that we don't really have a working market. We don't really have a good economical system. Now, what it does is that you can't overprice things. So, but you have to get the maximum price. So either you have very few customers, or a very few customers, because if people can afford your services, then it doesn't really matter. You can ask for a European standard price, but only a few can afford it. So basically, it's not the case of the lack of interest, perhaps, for example, in the teaching business. It's not the case of the lack of interest. It's a case of money and time. Because imagine, if you have the money, because you earn more than the average Hungarian, you don't really have time, because then you definitely have to go in for 12 hours a day. Now, you can't afford learning stuff, or going on holidays. So it's really, really, that's what frustrates people. I mean, really, this is the main source of frustration in Hungary. And I think that we can talk about more on that later. The great frustration, why everyone thinks that we are so gloomy and sad and complaining all the time. I don't say this is not our fault. I'm saying that in this economical system, yeah, that's a word, in this system, it's really hard to, but I don't want to talk about companies anymore. So basically, this is what an average Hungarian does every day. We go to work, we come home, and we are really, really grateful inside that we have a house, and maybe we can raise children. That's about it. But it makes people frustrated. So this is for, I hope I answered at least some part of the question. If I didn't, please keep asking questions, and thank you for watching. Goodbye.